Well, hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Hi.
Another episode of the Healer's Corner. Melissa and Maria, both healers of different modalities in what we do and what we offer. And we would like to kind of talk about that spring equinox coming up and how to work with that and bring it in. Now, right off the bat, and I do believe Mercury went into the microwave again here recently or will be. Melanie asks, "What can I do to counteract the Mercury retrograde?" Now, Maria, here's a hot take. Do you? I already know the answer to this. What do you think of Mercury retrograde and all of the hubbub around it?
Well, the hubbub, what I think is that people bring it into their lives. Now, for me, I don't pay attention to the Mercury retrograde. And, but if you believe in it, um, what I would do is just spend some time outside in nature. Have barefoot on the ground, take some time, meditate. It's really nice out. So you can go and walk, just to realign with Mother Earth. But yeah, Melissa knows my take on this. It
So,
doesn't exist in my world. I energy exists in my world. And I mean it's like the earth, we have a protective layer on earth, and I just can't seem to comprehend what's going out in the atmosphere is coming through that protective layer. But if you are really vested in it and you put down your free will and you engage it in your life, then you know, it's I don't know, for some reason I think people use it as an excuse whenever things doesn't go right.
so, for those that don't know, Mercury retrograde, right? Mercury communication, contracts, business, but a lot of that is communication. And
Mhm.
there is the belief, and for some, the understanding that when it's in retrograde, that communication gets harder. So, and a lot of technological can go wrong. And, I'm like, haha, things go wrong all year, whether or not Mercury's in retrograde.
Mhm.
For those that really seem to experience that Mercury retrograde in their lives, to counteract that, when you break it down to it's a communication thing, it is making sure you take the extra time to be more still when you are listening. So you are understanding what is coming in and ask more questions to make sure you are understanding what is trying to be conveyed to you. And when you're communicating out, prepare before you are presenting something, before you have to call that doctor, before you have to call that lawyer, or if you're putting on um, some sort of presentation for school or for work, like take that extra step to really break down what you are trying to convey to help make sure you are mitigating what that challenge is. So, if you break that down, that Mercury retrograde, as it's just an added little challenge or speed bump for a certain time period in your life, take those extra steps to make it easier to communicate more effectively. You can use blue type of stones to help with that: blue aventurine, blue calcite, lapis,
Mhm.
rhodolite. Those all tend to work in with that throat chakra and the communication, as well, as listening in. If you have legal documents that you're concerned about, be it buying a house, buying a car, entering in a partnership, take that extra time to really read through it. Have a second set of eyes to go over it for you and make sure you're not, overlooking something or something that needs to be added on your behalf. So it really is slowing down and taking that extra time to cross your T's, dot your I's, and make sure everything is as it should be. I know some people, when it comes to big purchases, big contracts, they will literally wait till Mercury goes out of retrograde before they'll even entertain it. And if you feel better doing that as well, by all means, you can do that. But I personally do not let a Mercury retrograde stop me from doing what I need to do. Um,
Mhm.
because the planet, the retrograde is like when it's moving backwards, and it's never moving backwards. It's just our
Mhm.
perception of where we are in the sky compared to where they are, or that planet. So it is still moving in that way. So I like to think of it as it is still moving as it needs to. So I'm still going to communicate and do my business as I need to. And if things are kind of looking jumbled, then I need to take a minute and go, okay, what's missing? Where do I need to communicate better? Let me do a follow up phone call. Let me go ask these questions, and figure that out. So hopefully that was helpful, Melanie. If you want to, ask in your question if there's a certain project that you're worried about with the Mercury retrograde, can kind of go deeper into that for you if you like. But me personally, like, I will not shy away from buying a house, buying a car, doing a business, starting an event,
Mhm.
anything of the sort, because Mercury is in retrograde. Because if that were the case, you would never get anything done in your life because
Mhm.
there's always a planet doing something somewhere.
Yeah.
And I just refuse to be that limitation in my life because there is a giant gas ball somewhere in the universe saying that I can't do it. Um, but yeah,
I
if you what's that, Maria?
I would like to add to that. This is an opportunity for you to kind of utilize these. It's coming down to being aware. You be aware of anything that you sign for, whether Mercury retrograde is in effect or not. It's just being aware of what you're signing for. What are you committing to? Listening to individuals. A long time ago, I had a profound workshop in the art of listening, and majority of the time in society, we listen to reply. We don't listen to take in. So if you are going in a little bit slower pace due to Mercury retrograde, being aware, reading all the documents, reading especially what you're signing for, whether it's a huge purchase or even just a small little agreement. Um, Keep doing that every single day of your life, not just because it's Mercury is in retrograde.
Mhm. So you're working on a quilt. So good for you. And I say that because I'm in awe of people who can quilt. I do not have the patience. I might get one or two squares done and be like, that's it. It's the world's smallest quilt. Here's for a baby doll somewhere or a pet hamster. You know what I would do, because I would do this in with my crochet, is for me, and I'm assuming, and correct me if I'm wrong, that making that quilt is calming in a way, maybe meditative for you. So while you're working on that quilt, maybe be thinking about other things that you may have to address in this time period, and see what kind of pops in, like, oh, don't forget to this, or it'd be a good idea to ask about that while those other things are going wrong. So my machine is going crazy. So here's something that might help. I don't know if you get into the whole fairy realm, but, and I always found this to be really, really funny. Way back when I was in Girl Scouts, that age bracket, I forget what it is, but the brownies, right? They're about the
Mhm.
size in their age bracket that there are a group of house fairy called brownies that can be helpful. And they like little cups of milk, honey on bread, and maybe putting out a little something for your house spirits to be like, hey, can you help this machine? And maybe even just kind of connecting with the machine. And I know this sounds crazy, but if everything has a consciousness, then so does that machine.
Mhm.
And maybe connect with that machine and be like, why are you doing this? Or do you what do you not want me to do? And what do we need to change? Maybe just maybe something is trying to tell you to either change that pattern or change that color, or maybe do you yourself need to take a rest?
Mhm.
But maybe those little house brownies can give you a hand with that machine. Um, I personally, I forget what that tropical storm was that was so big that it came up through Ohio like a few years ago, back when I was still at my old store location. Like it's been a long time. And we flooded from all of the rain in my old house, and the pilot light got flooded out. And I remember thinking like, "Oh man, like I don't have money right now for a whole new hot water tank and everything else." And because the store had to be closed because nobody had power. And like, man, so I'm like, you know what? I put out my stuff and I'm like, all right, little brownies, need some help. Here's this. I promise to acknowledge and work with you more after this, but could you please go help me out here? And the husband at the time went down there, and I'll be damned, the thing lit, like,
Mhm.
after putting that out. And I'm like, "Oh, brownies, here's extra for you." But maybe try that. Ask the machine what it's wanting and needing, and see. I wouldn't say that it's necessarily Mercury, but it could just be coincidental. And maybe it's just something like that could be addressed for you. Um, but those little house brownies are funny. And that's where I thought too that their description is about that height and size that the girls are when they are brownies and Girl Scouts. And I'm like, don't you
Mhm.
somebody didn't know what they were doing
Mhm.
when they made that rank and that name for the Girl Scouts at that time. But good question. Hopefully that helps you, Melanie. You'll have to let us know later if you tried any of that and if it worked and how it came out. Chair says maybe make the quilt in the theme of something you want in life and help bring it to the universe. That could help. Maybe
Yes.
it's time to make something for yourself too.
Mhm. Yes.
My grandmother quilts, and I'm always amazed at the work that she does. And she's like, "When are you going to take up quilting?" I'm like, "Never, never, never, ever, ever, ever." Maria, did you have like some best practices that you use around the spring equinox?
I usually call what I do is that since I was brought up in Oahu, Hawaii, I usually go out there and I just, thank the sun and everything else, the sea, the sun, everything, because Mother Nature actually provides everything that we need. And since we are planted in this planet, I want to honor her. So I know in Shaman we did a despacho in honoring Pachamama, but usually in the spring I just go outside and just kind of commune and just embrace the energies around me. So that's what I was brought up when I was growing up in Hawaii. I wish there was an ocean here that I could do that, but I don't, it doesn't bother me because I actually go into meditation and I put myself there. So that's basically I just thank the nature spirits, the elements. I thank the moon and the sun and everything else. That's what I do. It's a very simple ritual that I do. And when the seasons change, I even thank when the season changes to winter, although I do not like winter. But I think when the season changed, because it's just for me, spring is a renewal, is to recharge, is to reflect, and also in the same time, I'm thanking the nature spirits and Mother Nature and all that.
Yeah, I like to take that time outside if it's warm. If not, I'll sit by a window as close as I can
Hmm.
get to the nature and do similar. And sometimes, here's like winter haters. um, sometimes I will do things Like, if I start my seeds indoors back when I had a yard that I can move plants to, around that time that you could start things, as I'm planting those little seeds, I will put little intentions in with each seed. And
Mhm.
it doesn't necessarily have to be like, I want a promotion, I want to start a new business venture, I want a new relationship. It can literally be things like, I want to be more peaceful. I want to work on letting anger go. I want to grow my understanding of topics that are, unfamiliar to me. So you can do little things like that when you're planting little seeds, and don't stress if they suddenly die, right? Cuz things happen. Don't panic. Be like, "Oh great, never going to achieve that now because that little seed pod didn't make it." Because you set that intention already. Doing that out in the yard, can get even better. So as you move those out into the yard, they're growing more, and you're planting that, like, in that living space, in that Pachamama, Mother Earth space around you. And, if you're outside doing that, making that mental connection in with the sun, that you're asking because it's gonna be the longest day of the year, right? So you can ask for clarity while
Mhm.
you're working on things. Like, I would like clarity, in whatever you have going that maybe you're struggling with, or hey, I would like some new ideas. Maybe, going like, hey, I'm tired of making the same crochet projects. What's something else that I might enjoy making? What new events might people around us like to see? And sometimes just letting that sun come in, even though some of us shouldn't be in direct sunlight for very long periods of time. I would make sure I have my sunscreen on, right? And go sit out there and just let that sun and be like, please, Father Sun, burn away anything heavy that I'm carrying, even if I don't realize I'm carrying it, like burn it away and let it, move through me down into the ground. Even before the shaman program, like I just had this innate, like, let it go into the earth because the earth will transmute and grow
Mhm.
anything put into it. So, there's a lot that you can do with that longest day of the year, making that connection, that divine masculine of the sun coming into the divine feminine of the earth. And that connection point is such a magical point that you can use going forward. But feel free, guys, ask questions, comments,
Mhm.
anything that you may have tried yourself in with the equinox. I didn't realize, like, do they really celebrate the equinoxes in Hawaii? And do they fall about the same time? Because they're a little farther down in closer to the equator than we are.
Well, in Hawaii, it's a part of our life. The land, we always pay honor to her. A lot of people don't realize that the hula, a lot of the music and a lot of the rituals is to honor Pachamama, the Aina, which is the land, and anything that's inhabited in her, in her domain. So I've always loved trees, so I go and hug a tree. There was this huge big banyan tree. I always went there, and I hug a tree, or I would sleep by it. That's
Hmm,
what I did, So, but we never paid attention to the equinox because we don't have a season change. It's just 70, 75 degrees straight through the year. We
that's why
may have, pardon me?
that's where I'm moving. That's where I'm moving.
Okay. But you do have tropical storms, and I do honor the tropical storms. I mean, I go out literally and play in the rain because I didn't care. I love the fact that it was a time for uh the universe to cleanse, divine to cleanse the earth. So I literally go outside in the rain and just play in it and just dance around it. So we always honor, it's something that's in our culture. It's just the Mother Earth, the Aina, is just part of our culture. So we never disconnect from her. We always honor her in a way.
Nice. I always wondered. you get down to certain levels where
Mm.
that around that equinox, and I'm like, how do they handle, that when there's not the shift of seasons? And because in other cultures, when you have that change, those represent different things for what they practice and believe. So very interesting. And all this
Mhm.
time you've been keeping that from me, because I'm like, I need to move where it's like 65 to 74 all the time.
That's what
And you're
that's the temperature.
quietly sitting there like,
That's the temperature.
yeah,
That's
thanks, Maria.
but we do a lot of the schools and a lot of kids, and it's really great to go around May 1st in Hawaii because they do have a huge pageant all over the schools. It's called May Day. May Day is Lay Day. And the kids they're making leis. I remember making leis, getting ready for this pageant, and all your family members can come in, and it's usually outside because it's the honor, it's the sun, we have a 70-75 degree weather, so it's usually outside. So yeah, May 1st there's usually a big celebration.
Nice.
Hmm.
Chair bears about the seasons, but I really need a day and a night. Some places it's bright for like half the year. Yeah, like up in Alaska and things.
Yeah.
I don't think I would do well in Alaska just because it's cold and there's not, that night and day difference. I think I would just lose my mind up there. Um, and Sierra, honoring the rain is so important, especially in the spring.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I mean, I might sound crazy, but spring, summer, and fall rain all smell different.
Hmm. They all do. The energy too. If you feel the energy, there's always a difference on the
Mhm.
energy. Hmm.
I know there's some when I've said like, "Hey, it smell," and they're like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "You can't." Oh, cheers. She's like, "The smell of rain is called petrichor." Oh, thank you for
Oh,
the little nugget of
okay,
info.
did not know that. I didn't know there was a certain name for it. Wow.
Be like,
Oh.
"I smell petrichor." Mm. um, and I think that whole like night and day, like for a lot of us, right? We need that to know when to let the mind shut down, when it's time to put away the workday, when it's time to rest, when it's time. And if you're in constant sunlight or constant day, and constant night, like how do you know when to shift? Um, spring rain smells the best. Ooh, I would, spring or summer.
Summer. I like summer rain. But then again, I was brought up in a tropical island, so it's what summer all year round.
Oh, um, Teresa says, "Yeah, the sunlight, moonlight affect me. I can't sleep this eclipse. It was uncomfortable." I will say that was I wouldn't call it a negative, but that is a downside since that shaman program going through it so many times. Like I never had a problem sleeping ever, but now full moon and new moons, I
Hmm.
find I either sleep shorter hours or have a harder time sleeping around that time. Um, you know,
Yeah, I understand what you're saying about that because it wasn't a shaman program that did that to me. It was pranic healing that did that to me. It's because being aware of I was really clueless, before went into the spiritual path. I was very clueless. And once I went into it, and you become very aware of the energies around you. Yeah.
Is it because we're
So,
more sensitive? I would think so.
mhm. Yes.
Um, let's see. Chairs in Ireland when it rains in the summer, they call it tropical storm, and here it is me thinking it's just another rainy day. I would wonder like what their version of a tropic storm would be compared to like
Yeah.
something in Florida that has like tropical storm. Are they
Yeah.
similar? Are they, I don't know. See now the science in me is like, ooh, I want a comparison. But yeah, I would say it is because we're a little more sensitive or aware,
Mhm.
now, even if you're not paying attention to it, like there's a part of you subconsciously kind of picking
Mhm.
um oh how fun. She's like, we do have a
Oh,
palm
she have palm trees. Wow. Yes,
learning
they
more and
do.
more about Ireland. all the
Yeah, that's cool.
kind of circling back to the whole summer, 'cause I make this easier for editing later, right? Um, w that whole sunlight coming in and meeting and, draining away things, you can also ask it to grow and give you ideas, which we talked about earlier. But a lot of people forget in the center of our galaxy, there is what is called sometimes the dark sun, which is a black hole.
Mhm,
And that is a great point in our universe, especially if you're somebody that is really affected by astrology, to send anything you need to be rid of
mhm,
in to that black sun, to willingly give it and let it be free. So if for some reason you find that maybe you're a little more on the masculine side when it comes to some energies, because some of us, right, connect more to a male energy, some are more connected to a female energy. Um, Sending it there to what is often referred to as the masculine, right? Because we have the moon, our feminine, we have
mhm,
the on the masculine. So why not that black sun? Use that as well and honor it and be like, hey, I give to you all of this here because those black holes compress and condense and make something new. Because I do believe in the science part of it. There's this theory that whatever goes into a black hole comes out the white hole, those eruptions.
mhm,
So it is being
mhm,
muted into something else, into a creation. So if you can't wrap that feeling around to like, I am letting it go into the earth for, Mother Earth,
mhm.
Pachamama, words are hard.
Pachinko.
That's why we have coffee, or Gaia, try connecting into that masculine energy in the center of the universe and letting it go that way. And you don't need to worry about like, oh, it needs to come here and it needs to flow up and it needs to come out. Just let it go. Be it out of your chest, out of your hands, or however. Don't overthink it because now you're in your own way and you're stopping that release from happening.
Mhm,
Let it go into that black hole and become something else far, far away because our universe is ever expanding.
mhm.
Marie, do you use or work with any certain skulls or crystals or rocks around that time? Because I know you got skulls.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Actually, I do sometimes I would put all my skulls in a circle, and I the if you what I sometimes it's hard, like, I may be tired and I can't really, like, I just wanna do something. So, if I don't get in the meditation, and I know about the dark sun because I've done that. It's really cool when you see it. Um, but sometimes I put my skulls in a circle, and then I ask them to take anything that I don't need in my life anymore.
Mhm.
And my skulls, because I have various skulls, I put them in a circle, and I project it into that circle. Same thing what I do with my salt bucket when I do the healing. I use
Mhm.
the skulls energy to project that into the circle. And sometimes I would take a skull with me outside. I would dig a hole in the backyard, and I'll just go ahead and project anything that I want. Because if I don't have time to meditate and project and see the black sun in my meditation to do it that way, that's the easiest for me to. I like to keep things simple. I like to keep it easy.
Mm.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought to have a congressional meeting of skulls, but I like that.
They're wonderful.
I feel like we need to get them all those little old-timey wigs, and have them sit there and discuss about all those things.
No, they don't like to dress up.
Do your skulls have names? Mhm,
Yes. And they gave me their names.
mhm,
When I acquire a skull, because he won't I can't go home without purchasing it or taking it home with me. When I acquire a skull, I would sit with it for a while, and I would cleanse it first, and then I would sit with it for a while, and then I do some consecrating and programming, and then I have a conversation with them. It's just me and that one skull, and then the name comes to me.
Mm.
So every single one of them is the name that they chose. I did not choose it for them.
Now, have you had a skull with a name that you couldn't quite pronounce?
Initially, quite a few of them gave me a name, and I said, you need to keep it simple because I won't be able to do that. I would just give you the first letter of that name, and that's it. So then they would say, okay, you can call us so and so,
The very first names, no second guesses. Um,
Yes, I know, but if it's a long name that I can't pronounce, I'm just gonna no. They're gonna have to give me something simple.
there's been a time or two where there's been, a skull or even a stone, a working piece on my mesa, like a kuya,
Mhm.
that it is trying to give me the name, and, like, I cannot just put sound to it or even begin to and I'm like, "Oh, well." So now, at times if I'm walking up to, like, the mesa and I'm like, well, I'll be like, "Hey, you. Thank you for being here." Like, I there's no language for what is trying to come through, and I'm like, "Well, I'm not gonna insult you by goobering that up horribly."
Mhm.
So, it's more of that feeling then, like, "Hey, I see you. I thank you for being here, for putting up, with the shenanigans here." Um, it's see, I was like, I'm glad mine had given me simple names.
Yes.
But, y but that's a good point, Maria. You could use your skulls, like, in that equinox
Mhm.
help you to bring in that energy because maybe you've got a skull that's really good at giving you ideas, or maybe you didn't realize could until taking that time in that equinox energy to be like, "Hey, how can I work with you more?" And help one another out and see. Um, I have some skulls that like certain types of liquor, you know. Some that like certain types of candies or treats so
Mhm.
here's this for you and give a helping hand here and there when you can. Um, I find most that have two, a spiritual name and an earthly name.
Mhm.
That makes it easier, right?
Yeah.
Um, so and as I say, like I can't pronounce the name, like right behind my monitor here is a really pretty um, amethyst skull, and I cannot pronounce the name that it has. Working with skulls isn't a scary thing, and I think if you have, a stone, even if it's not carved into a skull, but like on that equinox, to be like, I would like to work with you more. I've had you for years. I haven't done much with you. I bought you, said, "Ooh, you're pretty," and then came home and kind of sat it down. Be like, hey, on this equinox, I want to get to know you. May or may not get a name, but make that connection with the healing tools that you have, some of being your stones, being your skulls. If you're a candle person, writing intentions that you have and lighting that candle on that
Mhm.
equinox and letting it start that process for you. Because candle working is like an alchemy. So as that candle's burning, it is taking that attention and putting the light out there for it to be found and to happen. Or if you're releasing something, it is burning it away as that wax melts. So, if you're kind of that person that you need a mental understanding of why and how it works to help get your intention through, you know, think of them that way. Um, good stones for the equinox. Oh, all the pretty orangey yellows. Though I think orange calcite is one of my favorites for spring equinox.
Mhm.
That very bright, vibrant, almost like orange popsicle orange color. Um, makes me think of spring flowers. And it hits right in that lower area of the chakras. So your root and your sacral, where things are going to start, where it's germinated, where it's planted, where it's going to start to bloom out. What's your favorite stone
I
that you
like the Shaman garden stone. You know, that it looks like when you look into it, it's like there's a garden.
have?
I was like, "Oh, it's a pretty garden," you know? And sometimes, when I first got that stone, 'cause it was something that was brought up in the shaman class, but I got attracted to it. I
Mhm.
literally meditated into that stone because I started just looking at it like how you look at a crystal ball. And then later on, you just get sucked into it. So it's really pretty. That's my favorite stone for the spring. Actually, it's sitting on in one of my mesas in the house.
How many mesas do you have?
I have 3 right now going. I have 1 just for the skulls.
Okay,
Seriously,
fair,
I have 1 just for the skulls.
fair, fair. Seems like I love orange calcite, and it's got like a soft feel to it, not just because it's a calcite and texturally it's like soft, but it's got like this nice orangey feeling growing without like busting through in the face. It's kind of a we're gonna slowly bloom and open type feeling. Um, Moss agate would be another good one. Um, what else? Tree agate.
Mhm,
Those are actually good too if you're gardeners and you want to add a little extra growth. You know, those two stones around in your garden or your potted plants help with that. And add, you can even like tuck them in the soil and put those intentions of like what you want to grow along with that plant. Like, gee, I want my tomato plant to grow really big and healthy and have really delicious tomatoes. But while that's working, I want to grow the confidence in a new project I'm starting, you know, whatever it might be. But those are good to have for that spring connection, that spring energy to kind of get that driving force to work with those bottom 2 to 3 chakras. Citrine would be another good one for
yes.
this time of year.
Yes,
Um,
I have used Citron, during the spring also.
and citrine's really good for concentration, study, mental clarity,
Mhm,
that. That could be another one to help with Mercury retrograde, like that mental understanding of why things may just be so chaotic right now. Um, so yeah, citrine, some other there is yellow calcite. That could be another good one. Orange is like my favorite for this time of year and for those energies coming in. Um, Fiery stones. I think if you are living in a place where you can have a little fire outside, could be good because there's a lot of good work you can do in fireworking
mhm,
as well. Um, Actually, fire is one way that you can dispose of despachos if you make them.
yeah.
So I like fire and I like burying them depending on what the intention is. I know some people like to throw them in water, um, but I prefer the fire or the burying. Do you have a preference for your despachos, Maria?
I like to burn them. I use the fire. I think the fire I've always used because fire can be it can be cleansing, it can transmute, and I like the fire. I have done burying, but I always my go-to is the fire. I've
Mhm.
always done the fire. If I was I won't do it to the lake because I have too much respect for the lake. But if we had an ocean that would actually take things so far away, I would do it I would just because that's what I used to do in Hawaii. I should just throw it in the ocean.
I think if you, regardless if it's an ocean or like be mindful of what you put in your gazpacho, that it's biodegradable, that it's
Hmm.
not something that's gonna break, somebody might step on or hurt one of the animals
Yes.
in the water. I know people like to go up to Lake Erie and just throw because they're releasing, and I'm like, "That's a glass bottle. Why are you throwing that out there to
Yeah.
shatter and possibly have somebody step on it?" Like,
Hmm.
have a little forethought before you just throw things into the water. You could also take stones, right, and plant them around the 4 corners of your property at
Yes.
that time. for be it protection, for love, growing some peace and love for the family. If you have a bickering family, maybe put that out there. You do the outer four corners of your property. You could also do around the house itself, so it's a double barrier.
Mhm.
Um, I know some traditions will like put it at the front doors or under the mat.
Yes. Yes.
So that's one thing you can do. Um,
Like, if you were to take the garnet stone or a ruby stone and you put it on the front door,
mhm,
just a little bit above, but not completely low, it's gonna get into people's way. You are welcoming prosperity, success into your home.
nice.
Yes.
I know Ruby, like in your wallet, is supposed to make sure you always have money.
Yes.
Um,
But if
but
you put it in the doorway coming in,
mhm.
you know, that also would do the trick.
What else do you do for the equinox, Maria?
I like I said, I keep it simple. I'm out with nature. I do. I love to have my feet touch the ground because our feet is just completely disconnected with Mother Nature's biorhythm, and we need the biorhythm.
Mm,
So the worst um things that we can do is put have our shoes on so long in the day and not have an opportunity to just let it breathe and feel in and just embrace Mother Nature's biorhythm. So I know you can't do it in the wintertime. What I do, I have pots of soil I bring in for the winter. And Melissa knows this. When I'm in the store, I'm just putting energy into tumblers. I play with the dirt in my pot of
mhm,
soil during the winter. That's what I do. But I usually I when the equinox come around again, I will take that pot of soil. I will thank it, for the energy that it shared with me, and then I will put it back in Mother Nature, and then I will take a new pot of soil
hmm,
and keep it in the house. I do that quarterly. Like every season, you know.
nice.
Yeah. But I just love to just work with it, just have it just run my fingers through it.
Mm,
So that's what I do in the winter, and it helps because it's you getting the energy that's
mhm.
in that soil from Mother Nature. You're connecting to her biorhythm.
And when you're putting it back out, all of that love and attention that you put into you're giving back to your land.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, right, petting the soil. Oh, such a lovely thought. Look at you growing the things. Ah. Um, Maria, have we left anything out that you can think of on the whole equinox?
No, I can't think of anything. But yeah, it's just a time for you to remember remember the elements are because they're all around us, the energies. They're there. Talk to them. Try to keep it simple because nature is very simple.
Mm,
It's not a whole overthinking type of process. It's just simple little things. Just so you're still connected to them, you still honor them, and you're aware that they're there.
I like to kind of like take a moment and like feel what Mother Earth is doing out there, weather-wise, and like how can I work with it instead of resenting it at the time, like, oh, like how can we use the snow? Um, so because she knows and she will guide you if you listen and ask her,
Hmm.
what to do. And don't worry about like, well, this probably sounds silly. Who cares? She doesn't care. That's why she offered that suggestion to you. I think really just if you're wanting to get your spirituality back in check and back into like, I need to do a better job remembering my spirituality to pay better attention to myself and working for me and healing for me so I can help others. The equinoxes, I think, are great major
Hmm.
time points to do this. Um, because they happen every year on the calendar. You know it's coming.
Mhm.
So you can always prepare, and maybe you can make a plan like for this spring, I want to start with this and grow this. And when it comes to the winter time, I want to let go of, XYZ as I,
Mhm.
and that can change between now and then. And it is okay to have that change happen of what you're working on. Do you have any final parting words? Because we went longer than I thought we would tonight, which is good.
Oh,
Which is good.
okay. Um, the only thing is just, just be open to the change. Um, when someone is not, and it's like the change is gonna come to you. You're growing, we're constantly growing, and it's gonna come. Who I was a year ago is not who I am now. Who I was a month ago is not who I am now. And if you have the idea that the one thing that's guaranteed in life is always changing and growing,
Hmm.
it'll be a lot easier when the bumps happen in life and you go through the process. And also remember this, you always have options. You
Yeah.
always have options. So it's an opportunity for you to get to know who you are, what you will tolerate, and to listen to your heart. Basically, that's what it is. It's listening to yourself.
Well, thanks for joining us, guys. We'll be
Yeah.
back next week for another discussion on a different topic in the healing work. All right, guys. Well, join us next Tuesday, 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time for the next Healers Talk. We'll have another topic for you then. We have some other ones that we're planning. If you have suggestions of topics in the healing realm, that you would like us to go over, feel free to shoot an email, give us a whisper, send us a text, however you are joining us. Here's our email, if that's easier for you. Be like, hey, what do you guys cover? And we will go over that. But we will be back next Tuesday, 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And thank you for joining us, guys.
Thank you.